Hey guys, my name is Nikki Renfro. I'm a recently retired state trooper, and I decided to start a podcast, Safe Nation Podcast. We're covering safety, security, and law enforcement.
Last spring, Fulton County Schools brought us in to go to 7 of their schools.
Okay.
And when we went to Banneker, when we were waiting for the principal. When we sitting in the lobby, these guys walked in, and one of them was like, "Hey, I know you." And so I kind of, when somebody say that, you kind of jump like, "How do I know?" Right? He's like, "Man, you came to talk to us when we was in prison." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What y'all doing now?" And he's like, "We mentoring."
Oh, see, that's good.
So that's why you get little nuggets to let you know that you're doing the right thing, or you see people again where they let you know, or you see a kid again years and that, like, as the police, you ain't gonna remember everybody right away, but most people remember you first. And when you get a young person and they say, "Hey, you came to my school," or yesterday we went to Creekside. As soon as we walked in the door, a girl said, "Hey, I remember you from last year. You ain't follow me back on Instagram."
See, they hold you accountable.
They hold you accountable, but that shows you how your message resonated with them. Like, even though we're talking to them and the topics that we're talking about, even the kids yesterday, they said at the end, one of them said, "I thought y'all was just gonna be another presenter just talking." He said, "But the stuff y'all was talking about, y'all didn't talk at us, y'all talked to us." And the fact that you was able to share your own story let us know that it's genuine. Like, you coming from a place that I've been there and I've done that. Most young people see you as an adult. They see you in a button-up suit, and they think you just woke up like that, or you're lame or something. And it's like, everybody got a story. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a backstory. They see your shine. They don't see your grind. They don't see how you got to where you are. You know what I'm saying?
Tell me about your backstory. So
My backstory?
I know that that you're from St. Louis.
Right. Born and raised.
Tell me about little Ty when he was growing up. Tell me about little Ty when he was growing up in St. Louis. What was that like?
I grew up on the west side of St. Louis. I grew up with my mom. My mom divorced my dad when I was one. I got two brothers, one sister with my mom. My dad remarried, lived in California, didn't see much of him in my life. Grew up with my grandma. Was a normal kid, My mom did what she could with us. My grandma instilled the Bible in us, stuff like that. We knew right from wrong. But at a certain age, my brothers started jumping off the porch. What that means is we moved to a different part of town, and then when we moved back, our neighborhood, after the movie Colors, our neighborhood became a set. And so then we were forced to know the ins and outs of gangs to survive. Not that I was in it. I played sports. They wouldn't let me in it.
I was going to ask, were you?
No, I didn't have to. I wanted to at one point, not in a game, but sell dope. And nobody would let me. It was like my brother, one of my brothers is like my dad, even though we're a year and a half apart. And it's like they wouldn't let me do that.
Isn't that funny how that happens, though? They know the kid in the neighborhood that's going to be something and do something. It's just something they know on the inside of you. So in a lot of cases, you get protected.
That's it. So for me, this is a true story. I was, as you can see, I'm 6'5". I was always tall for my age, and my brother is a year and a half older than me, so I always had to play up with older people. When I was 13, at our park was like a gang haven. Everybody from the neighborhood came to the park. The guys that couldn't play stood outside the park and sat out, drank, smoked, did whatever. One time, somebody elbowed me. Boom, knocked me down real hard. Me being young, I ain't do nothing. I'm thinking like, get up, dust myself off, keep going. Somebody else handled that. Like, you don't touch him. Leave him alone. You know what I'm saying? And so seeing that, that's what makes me, even as I became a cop, that just because some guys are in the streets don't mean they don't have a heart, don't mean that they don't care about the community, you know what I'm saying? And a guy, one time on a case, he said, "I sell dope to support my family. That's what I do." He was like, "The violence, that ain't me." He's like, "I don't want to carry no gun. I don't want to hurt nobody, but I don't want nobody to hurt me too." And growing up in the hood, you just learn different stuff. that it's like you in survival mode. Like growing up in a gang environment, you learn what colors not to wear, what neighborhoods we into it with, when certain stuff going down, when it's time to go. It's like you learn these traits to survive. And for me, I grew up dead smack in it. When people talk about St. Louis, now they think Ferguson. Ferguson is the suburbs. Ferguson is Riverdale. Like, come to the Hodemite tracks, where I come from. Fountain Park neighborhood, it's the worst. But when you grow up in that environment, it's home. So you don't know it's that bad. You just, this is where I live. And so early on, my mom got us involved in sports. I played baseball, and then I boxed for a second, and then basketball pretty much was my focus and saved my life. And pretty much once I started playing AAU, traveling, seeing different cities, and like, dang, I can do that too.
Did it save your life because you were now exposed to more, because it occupied your time?
Both. See better, do better, want better. And as you start playing against other people that you reading about in magazines, and you like, I'm better than him. I can do what he doing. And then once you start getting recruitment letters, that changed your whole focus. And once I started getting letters and stuff, it was like, it wasn't an if I was going to college, it was a where. And so that became all I cared about, basketball, basketball, basketball. But my senior year was my worst time of my life. Because we got a new coach. He didn't understand. So in St. Louis, we have voluntary desegregation. And what that means is I lived in the inner city, but I got bused to the suburbs. So I lived on Boulevard and got bused to Alpharetta or something.
Right.
Which every day I got 2 educations. I got an inner hood education, and then I'm passing mansions and stuff. Some of my teammates' parents are CEOs of companies, and I'm seeing how they living. And I'm like, I want to live like that, you know? But going into my senior year, we got a new coach. And he didn't understand me. I didn't understand him. And our team was ranked. Now it's my turn. I'm the leader. And we went 12-15, so we sucked. And then a week after our season, I got expelled. One of my friends got come in the morning, like, if I get in a fight, you got my back. 18, I'm like, yeah, where you at? And once I got into that fight, while we're standing there, I get hit with a trash can, and I jump in the fight. Our wrestling coach, a short white guy, he put me in some type of chicken wing, and I'm like, let me go, I'm gonna steal you. And he thought I said, I'll kill you. And so I got a 43-day suspension. The crazy part about the story is it was a blessing in disguise. Like, now, that storm, what seemed like it was meant to harm, it actually cleared my path to where I am now. Because from that, I lost Division I scholarship offers. I ended up having to go to a community college. At our church, a lady sat me down, and she was like, what are you trying to do with your degree? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just going to play ball. And she was like, well, you got to think you're going to work for 30 or 40 years before retirement. You're going to have to do something that you like or love. And so I started going through the course catalog, and I saw criminal justice. And I'm like, I know crime. You know what I'm saying? And from that's how I ended up majoring in criminal justice. My junior college coach actually signed me. I got a 10-day suspension with a recommendation to the Board of Education, which amounted to 43 days the remaining of the school year. I couldn't go to prom, and the only way I got to go walk at graduation was to drop my appeal to the Board of Education. And from that, I was able to walk at graduation. But that meant I got escorted to my seat, and before they took the cap and gowns out, they escorted me out. And that humbled me because, you know, playing sports, you cocky, you like, I'm the man. That made me look at everything totally different at that point. Like, dang, I'm going to show these people this ain't me. And so I graduated, ended up going to Lakeland College in Mattoon, Illinois. And my coach was like, I don't care what you did before you got here, just don't do it here. When we get there, it's 25 people on the team. 5, if you watch basketball, only 5 can play. So we got 5 different sets of teams, right? First chance I get to come home to St. Louis, I'm the first one to go to college. In my family, in my neighborhood, everything. So it's like a big deal when I come home. But my mom then was out of town. So one of my friends come to visit me. We talk, and he like, when you going back? I'm like, man, we got practice at 6. I got to get back. He like, how you getting back? I don't know. He go steal a car. Right? Give me the car. My other two teammates from St. Louis, I'm like, I got us a ride back. They like, nah, we ain't doing it. I drive back to school, make it back. My coach see me in the car. He like, where you get that new car from? My brother, you know. A couple of days later, the car becomes the taxi for the team because we stay up the road.
The stolen car.
The stolen car. And what we don't know is the apartments that we live in, it's a abandoned car lot or beat up wrecked cars. We don't know for the city.
Boneyard for.
It's the impound lot for
Right.
the city of Mattoon. We don't know that at the time. When he took the car back to Chicago. He took the plates off and put them on the car. Next day, we backed the car in thinking we slick. The police pull up. When they run the tag, it come back says they're impound. So then when they ran the VIN, it comes back stolen out of St. Louis. It's only 3 of us out of St. Louis, so I get detained about it. Now, I have to tell, I didn't get arrested because they didn't find me in the car and they didn't find me with the keys. But I almost got kicked out of school because of that. And my coach, as soon as he brought me in, he like, I thought I asked you who car it was. And I'm like, he said, why you lied to me? I'm like, Coach, like I'm going to tell you it's a stolen car. He said, call your mother. And when I called my mom was strict to the point where she taught us right from wrong. And my mom was a word processor for the St. Louis Police Department, so she could type real fast. And so when I called her, she said, let me get this straight. So my youngest boy, who ain't never been in trouble, gonna finally go to college, and now he trying to be a thug.
Right.
She said, I don't give a beep what you do.
Right.
Don't bring your beep, beep, beep home. And hung up the phone.
That sounds like a real mama.
And from that, I knew what that meant. And so my coach like, what your mama say? And I'm like, she said, don't bring my home. Mm-hmm. He said, well, the athletic director trying to kick you out of school, but we gonna see what we can do. Long story short, didn't get charged. I was able to stay. Ain't been in trouble since.
So fights in high school.
Stolen car in college.
Expulsion from school.
Mm-hmm.
Stolen car.
Yep. And then my professor.
Mama said don't come home.
And then my professor, I'm the only black student in criminal justice. And so my professor, what he didn't know and what I didn't know at the time is where I went to school, Rockwood School District is one of the best school districts in the country. If you ever watch a spelling bee and they from St. Louis, chances are they from Rockwood School District. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I didn't know I was getting this awesome education. So when I'm in class, I'm able to hold my own. Like, people didn't drop out of school at my school. It was like, where are you going to college? And so while I'm in class, I'm holding my own, whatever. And one day my professor came to me and was like, Mr. Dennis, what are you trying to do with your degree? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here to play ball. Like, I'm 18. And he was like, have you ever thought about going into the FBI? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the feds? Never. And he was like, as a minority, that might be something that you may want to do. And so that's how my focus got into law enforcement. But with my degree, it would put me at being diversified or something where I would have to work in law enforcement for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I started looking at a police department. Got my associates, played basketball for 2 years, got my associates from Lakeland, transferred to the University of North Alabama, picked up a second major in sociology, played basketball for another 2 years, and then in my 5th year, my new coach was like, hey, we only got a partial scholarship for y'all because most of us came from community junior college. And so I'm like, dang, what I'm going to do? Call my mom. Mama, what we going to do? Son, I'm barely making it myself. You're going to have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Don't come home.
Right, again.
So I got the phone. And my girls' basketball coach heard me talking about it, and she coached cross country. Mm-hmm. And she said, hey, I got something for you. I don't know if you want to do it, but you may want to. I don't know. And she said, if you run cross country, I'll pay for your last year of college. So I ran cross country. I had to be up at 5:30 every morning, back at 3:30. And, all my friends are making jokes because at this time I'm 21, 22. And they like, look at Ty with the little shorts. I'm running car miles. And but when I graduated in May of 2002, I graduated with a zero balance. I didn't owe any
Look at
student loans. I didn't owe anybody. And like I tell kids, you got to do what you can before you do what you want. Like at the end of the day, all of us see the shine and say, I want to be this, I want to be that, but don't know what work you got to do to put in to get there. And I did what I had to do. And so after I graduated in May, my first job out of college was going to play professional basketball in Columbia, South America. Before I left to go to Columbia, South America, I went to a job fair in downtown St. Louis for Atlanta Police Department.
So APD was in St. Louis.
Yep.
Looking for you.
Basically. My recruiter, Jan Boyer, I walked in some basketball shorts and flip-flops and filled out the questionnaire, and she was like, so you got 2 degrees? I'm like, yeah, just graduated. You ain't never smoked weed? Never. When could you be in Atlanta? I'm like, it's one catch. I'm about to go play ball in South America. Mm-hmm. She like, that don't matter. She like, take this form, fill it out, and whenever you done playing ball, it's a job waiting on you.
Was that the only police department that was at the job fair?
This for them, yeah. It was an Atlanta police. Like they did like something in the bottom of a hotel or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Because I was gonna say, how did you choose them? Like, did you skip over?
I went to other police departments, but in St. Louis, most of the police departments, you have to already be post-certified.
Okay.
Like, you got to put yourself through the academy. And, of course, I was poor, so I couldn't we ain't have money to be paying for that. And so that wasn't really an option. And then St. Louis Police Department had a hiring freeze at the time, which was a blessing because then I didn't have to stay. Everything happened for a reason.
That was an sounds like it's all falling into place.
It basically was doing like a full circle. And so I played ball in Tunja, Colombia, and then Manizales, Colombia for 2 years, the And One mixtape tour. World Basketball Association, but when you playing minor league basketball, it ain't like the NBA where you getting buku money. I'm making $2-3 grand a month, and the money I'm making, I'm spending. Mm-hmm. And so after about 2 years, my mom once again was like, "Son, you gonna have to get a job."
I like her.
Man, my mom is the best. Because even though she was a single mother, she was my mom, my dad, and we had a relationship where we could talk. You know what I'm saying? I still talk to my mom. Like I could always open up and be honest with my mom. You know, so
that's important. It's important to have.
Gotta have communication with your kids.
And she was honest with you, and it sounds like a lot of tough love from her.
That's all she could do. My mom had my sister when she was 16. She had my other brother at 18. She was married at 20 and divorced at 23. So she had been through a lot for herself, and she was learning as we went. Like when we were kids, my mom would take us to the picnic, go to Aldi's, spend $10, $15 and make us a picnic and go to the park and throw a Frisbee around or sneak some dollar candy into the dollar shelf.
That was fun.
Right. At the time,
yeah.
My mom made me stop saying this. That's why I caught myself and saying we was poor. Because one day I was like, yeah, Ma, you remember we used to wash our clothes on the washboard and we were poor and stuff. She was like, you wasn't poor. She said, name a time when you didn't get what you want. She said, you probably didn't get it when you wanted it, but you still got it. And she said, so don't say that you was poor. And I was like, dang, you check me?
It's a mindset.
Yeah. And so when I told her about, once I played ball and she said that, the decision was made. My roommate was from Stone Mountain. He went to Redan. So I used to visit off and on, come here to hang out with him. And after 2 years, I decided to move to Atlanta and be a police. And
you got started. Where were you? Where did they put you in the police department in terms of what zone, what part of the city?
Our start date September 7, 2004. Went to the academy in December of 2004. While in the academy, Brian Nichols took over the courthouse. Day before I swore in, Mark Cross got shot and killed. While in field training, Hurricane Katrina happened. Months after getting out, Neal Street happened with Katherine Johnson. So I got assigned to Zone 5 out of the CNN Center, Evening Watch. And eventually I became
that's downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's right there.
But then I got assigned to Boulevard, the Old Fourth Ward. And that's where I pretty much made my name. because I learned how to.
That's the historic district. A lot of people know that as
A whole fourth ward.
MLK, Ebenezer,
Yeah, Auburn Avenue,
Auburn
Edgewood,
Avenue,
all of that.
the whole historic part of Atlanta.
So my beat went from Ponce all the way up to Decatur Street, back to Piedmont, back around. And so I had a lot of ground to cover. But I learned how to treat people, how to have empathy for people, how to get to know people, how to interact with people. And so when I first became a patrol officer, when I was a recruit at City Hall East, I used to ride up to Boulevard to get to work, and you'll see the guys out there selling dope, and you'll be like, "They ain't gonna do that while I'm out there." Mm-hmm. And then when you got there, it's like it's bigger than you.
Yeah,
you can't control that. If I stop one person with a rock, I'm not doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I learned to get to know them, mm-hmm. but I didn't like touching on people all the time. So I started collecting data.
How so?
I started my own beat book. One of my guys, he had a beat book, and whenever
What's a beat book?
A beat book is basically intel about the area in which you work. I want to know everybody on my beat. I want to know where they kept dope. I want to know who baby mama was who, what kind of car they was. Basically, I was doing gang work before I got to the gang unit and didn't even know it.
It's almost like journaling.
Correct.
It's almost like that. So how did that help you, that beat book?
That helped me by acquiring knowledge. Work became fun. Every time I gathered more information, I'm steady updating my book. And so then the detectives became aware of that if it was something on Boulevard, go talk to Dennis. He know everybody. Go talk to Dennis.
You could write a novel from that book. Do you still have it?
I still have it. It's crazy because even with as we move forward, like with the Young Thug case, we worked that. And that's how it started with us because the person, one of the guys that got killed was from Auburn Avenue. My buddy Greg Dabney was working that night when he got killed, and he was like, "Hey, you put this person in our gang files. What you know about him?" Go to my bottom drawer, get that black book, get my beat book. And when he opened it up, he was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's my Bible." And from that, we had to create a war room, and by Monday we had a meeting with almost 50 agents and detectives explaining what this gang war was going on, and I was the lead person explaining.
Because you knew how to connect all the dots.
I had a supervisor at the time. He didn't even speak to us. He would walk past us, and after I got done, he came up and he said, "I'm gonna tell you, that's probably the best presentation I ever heard." He said, "You was answering questions, jumping back, stopping, going, or whatever." And I'm like, "It's my stuff. Like, can't nobody tell. It ain't something somebody told me. I know my stuff, and knowledge is power." I learned that as an officer. You can fight people all the time, but knowledge. And anybody I deal with, I call them by their government name. Like, I know you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then some of the guys over there, they knew I had the book. And some of them would use other people's name when they got first, when you first get arrested, that's what generates your FBI number. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys, he was getting detained. He had just got out of prison. But the first time he got arrested, he used his friend's name. And he was like, they used to call me Slim. He was like, "Call Slim. Slim, no." And when I came up, I had both of their pictures with FBI numbers, and that got them out. So I just learned how to be the police. My field training officers, R.K. Williams, Robert Manuel, and Robert Byers. I had 3 different officers, 2 black, 1 white. R.K. was like everybody baby. They call him baby daddy. He was like everybody daddy over there. But when that stuff got real, he got real. Robert Manuel carried a briefcase. He was like a businessman. He was like the politician type of officer. Mm-hmm. And then Robert Byers told me about extra jobs, EJs, getting money. Mm-hmm. And so each one of them, I wanted to basically take something from each one of them, ball it all up, and it made me. And so I did 6.5 years on patrol, and one of our detectives was working a homicide missing person case. And when we talked, he told me, I showed him my book and showed him what I knew and all this stuff. And he was like, "You watch too much TV." And of course, at the time, I'm like, "All right, well, forget you too." And a week later, he came back and he was like, "I just want to tell you everything that you told me was right, accurate." And he was like, they had did away with Red Dog and was creating the unit Apex. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I put your name in for you to go to Apex. And I'm like, I don't want to go to that. Like, I didn't.
What's Apex?
Apex was basically the replacement of Red Dog after the Eagle Raid. Red Dog got disbanded by Chief Turner. And so
So Red Dog was let's rewind a little bit,
Okay.
kind of educate people since you're talking about this. So Red Dog was what?
Red Dog was the jump out roll 4 deep. They basically was created to combat drugs in the city.
And they would jump out on you.
I knew about Red Dog before I ever moved from St. Louis because of Freaknik. My sisters and brother came to Freaknik and they was like, they got these Red Dog guys. And then I listened to Outkast. They used to talk about Red Dog. And so they wear black BDUs. And they were like the muscle of the department. And so a lot of people have horror stories for some of the carnage that they caused. But anytime I worked on Boulevard, whenever there was sometimes I'll come up the street and it's empty during a certain time, I'm like, what is going on? And then you go on the next street and Red Dog was out. So they deterred crime in their own way. And so once they got disbanded because of the Eagle Raid, they came up with
Eagle Raid was what?
The Eagle Raid was a gay bar that was raided by our Vice, Red Dog, and some other units. And when they raided it, they basically put everybody in the club on the ground, violated some people, different stuff like that, and the department got sued over it. And once they got sued over it, they won a lawsuit from it. And then basically the department decided to disband Red Dog. So now they wanted to create Apex, which was going to be more of an intelligence unit, basically attacking crime differently. And so he recommended I go to help be like one of the investigators kind of. I only went there for 6 weeks, and then I got promoted to detective, and then I got sent to Zone 6 criminal investigations.
Would you say that your patrol experience, all of what, that book that you kept and all of your involvement in the community and actually understanding how to be a patrol officer, did that help you? How did it help you?
It helped me because people trusted me and I cultivated relationships. I saw guys grow up in front of me. I saw guys go to jail, come back, go back, different stuff like that. Even now, I came on the department at 25. I'm 43. I still see guys now, and it's a respect thing, a mutual respect thing. And
it made you a better detective?
Oh, it made me a super better detective. When I became, Zone 6, they rezoned the city, and Boulevard became Zone 6. So now I'm a detective in the same area. The relationships that I established, like even with the Arab guys at the gas station, like some of the detectives couldn't even talk to them without getting my approval almost because of the relationships that were built. And this wasn't a fly-by-night relationship thing. This was over years of interacting with people and just getting to know people. Every day when I came on duty, I would go sit with the dope boys. And y'all see the game last night, you know what I'm saying? And we had a mutual understanding. Listen, you can't make me look bad. If you make me look bad, I'm gonna make all y'all look bad. If y'all congregating on this corner and my supervisor come through, it's gonna look like I'm not doing my job. Don't make me do my job. And it was an understanding. Now, did I have to get at some people? Yeah. But most of the time, they knew what time it was. They knew what I stood for. It wasn't that we had an understanding. And then, like, when real stuff happened, once I became a detective, most people, anytime I did something for somebody, it's like you owe me one. Because a lot of the times the stuff that would happen would be minor. Like you have hood stuff that happen, like girlfriend and boyfriend have a domestic. Technically, they supposed to go to jail, but it's almost like, hey, why don't you go to your mom? Let me take to your mama house, whatever. Now I have an ally, because then when a murder happened, guess who I'm going to call? That same person. And so which one is more important, you know?
Right.
And over time, cultivated that. And so
now you were a detective That was your last assignment with APD.
Gangs.
So how did you transition into gangs?
So while working Zone 6 CID, I worked on a carjacking case with David Quinn and Vince Velasquez, who was like homicide royalty. We had about 20 different cases, and I had
Vince, and they have their own show.
Correct.
It's
ATL Homicide.
ATL Homicide.
Correct. So I had 5 of their 20 carjackings.
Okay.
And so in working with them, I'm like, dang, I want to kind of be like them, like they smooth. And so when the order, Keith Meadows was my major at the time. When work order came out, he was like, hey, the call came for you. So I'm like, yes, I'm finally finna go to homicide. Look at the order, and it said targeted enforcement. So at the time, I didn't know what that meant. I thought they sent me to the taxi unit. I really did. And so when I get up to gangs, I'm mad because I'm like, why the hell they send me? I thought I did enough to make my own path.
Right.
And then when they sent me up there, I'm walking around moping. I ain't even come up there to pick my computer. I get the worst desk. They just treat me like a lost little puppy. But once I got up there and seen what they was doing, I was able to hit the ground running. And so then where I sat right behind my old partner, Lakia Gaither. And she had been in gangs for years. And once we linked, it was like Pippen and Jordan because we both thought alike, worked alike. Our motto was we will not lose. And we worked, and then we start solving cases. We start solving other people's cases. We start building cases. And then in 2015, we was the Detectives of the Year.
Nice.
And from that, we just continued to keep doing numbers and stuff. Eventually, she made sergeant and moved on, but then she came back. And then Kim Underwood became my partner because then she was assigned to the ATF, and then I got assigned to the ATF. So then we became partners and stuff. So working gangs, we were high-profile, long-term investigations, specialized in it, and we were able to basically do numbers. We made our name by good work, being relentless with our work ethic and stuff like that, and that's how we made our name. But throughout all of the time that I was at the police department, I started volunteering with kids in 2005.
Okay. Yeah, because that's going to bring us up to where we are. So what kind of volunteerism did you do?
So two of my good friends, Deion Harris and Rasheed Green, they worked at South Atlanta doing a program called Project Grad. And so, of course, they met me when I was in field training. And so they basically asked me to come to the school and talk to the kids. And so I used to come in regular clothes, go in the back, change into uniform, and the kids used to be flipped out like, yo, he 12, he the police, all this. And so over the course of time, I continued to do that for years. And it wasn't until a friend of mine, Kim Jones, she was our public information officer. She would see me post pictures with these kids, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, what with these kids? And I'm like, well, I go mentor, volunteer whenever somebody asks me to. Let me use some of these for the website, stuff like that. And so then as it got out to the department, they start pushing me into different things as well. And so people would often ask, who gave you permission to do that? And I'm like, nobody. I didn't ask.
Did it on your own?
Yeah, like I didn't ask. What's the problem? Why should I have to ask to do that? I feel like as a police officer, if we're supposed to be for the community, why aren't we going to interact in the community? And then I played basketball at Pittman Park, and they didn't know I was a cop either. Like when I first moved here, I'm fresh off playing professional basketball. We used to play a run and shoot. I used to play with NBA guys, and then we was in the league at Pittman Park. They didn't know that I was a cop because I could play ball. And so I'm dunking on them and stuff like that. And they looking at me as a basketball hooper. And then it took one of them seeing me pulling traffic at a Braves game like,
wow,
you 12, you know what I'm saying? So over the course of time, I'm steady volunteering. Anytime somebody need a school, whatever, I'm there. So as we start having all these officer-involved shootings and stuff like that, my social media will start going crazy because I'm still friends.
Now, about what year is it?
20, whenever Ferguson happened.
15, maybe.
14. I think it was 14.
14, 15.
So when 14 happened, Ferguson, I mean, you from St. Louis, what's up with that? Man, listen, I work investigations. Hear all of it out. Let's wait and see. Mind you, I'm friends with a wide variety of people. I got black friends, I got white friends, I got law-abiding friends, I got thug friends. Like, I got a wide variety of friends. And so my social media became ground zero. And so I'm thinking, how can I cultivate that into something positive?
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, like, when I go get my hair cut, some of the best conversations. Most of the time I go in regular clothes. They don't know I'm the police. We talk freely. Well, one day I'm on my couch eating a bag of Doritos. I'm talking to my cousin. She's a St. Louis police officer, Christy Allen, and I'm telling her what I'm thinking. And she's like, I think you should do it. And so in March 1st, 2018, we had Clippers and Cops was born. I started reaching out to different offices that I knew, different people that I knew.
Where was the very first location?
Stoney's Barbershop, 384 Edgewood Boulevard, Old Fourth Ward.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. So when I was on patrol, when I first moved to Atlanta, I needed a barber. I'm riding up and down Edgewood and Boulevard. I see Stoney in there cutting hair. Went in there and said, hey, would you cut my hair? And he became my barber. And he had, his barbershop is like an old barber. It feel like an old barbershop. And so I asked him, I'm like, yo, I'm trying to do something in the barbershop.
He knew you were a cop.
Yeah, he knew me as a cop. He met me as a cop.
Okay.
And me and him still, we just was there last night.
Okay.
Doing Clippers and Cops still.
Right.
Anytime we have anything, I always reach out to Stoney. He's always open arms because our relationship has evolved over the course of a year. Now we've been friends almost 20 years. And so
At that first one, who was there?
Who was there? We had
Or how many?
We had about 20 people there.
Okay.
And the people that was there, First 48 was still filming in Atlanta. And we had one of Joel Craig, we became friends, and I told him what I was doing. And he was like, hey, I'm going to come record it. He came, recorded it, and we started posting videos on our social media. And as we started posting videos, everybody's like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, we need more of that. Boom. So now it's like, all right, I see we got something. Meanwhile, I get an email from my mom. Somebody got in my email, and she was like, hey, I'm a single-parent mother with a teenage son, and I saw what you guys are doing, and I would like for him to be a part of it. So at first, we were only catering to men, and I'm like, dang, can't exclude her and him, so we opened it up to women. Then at first, we didn't want it to be a shouting match between us and activists, so we were kind of leery about opening it to the public. But eventually we did, and the activists did come, and then we did go at it. But eventually the activists became our friends too, because everywhere they was, we were.
But when you were having these conversations, Clippers and Cops conversations, what got the conversation kicked off? What were you talking about?
We would throw topics out there of what's going on in the media at that time. Okay. We would always try, we still do, we always try to have us like 5 to 10 questions in our pocket so there's no dry spells. Usually after the first 2 questions, people get comfortable and then the real conversation start. People start really opening up because at first everybody is playing nice. They kind of timid, looking around like, but then after we start talking, it flows. And then before you know it, 2 hours, 3 hours. At first we used to do it for 3 hours, but we had to stop because we'll be going forever because it became a networking event. You in the room with lawyers, other people with nonprofits that don't even know that the other one exists. Then, as we've grown, early on, we did it at Zucot Art Gallery. I used to work an extra job there. They good friends of mine. I'm like, can we use the art gallery? When we did that, we was able to set up the shoot, don't shoot simulator for all the people that say, hey, they should have shot him in the leg or they should have did this. Try it yourself so you can see this is a split-second decision. And it's hard. Like, it ain't as easy as it sounds.
So that allowed them to walk away with some understanding, a little bit better
empathy.
Understanding.
The whole goal of the whole program is empathy. I want people to empathize with law enforcement, but I want law enforcement to empathize with the public in which they serve. Hear these horror stories, provide insight. Some of the stuff, we had a girl, a good friend of mine now, she catered the event last night. She had a warrant out of Florida. She paid the warrant, but they didn't clear it out the system. So when she got pulled over by Atlanta police, she still had the warrant. So she had to go to jail. For years, she's mad at Atlanta police when we had to explain, that's a clerical issue you should have with them. Then there's an opportunity for us to explain to them, keep copies of your paperwork with you. So if that was to happen, you can show I paid this. Or we had a debate about, do you have to sign your traffic citation? Some people feel like that's an admission of guilt. We was able to explain that. One of them, the mother wanted the son to cut his hair because she felt he looked like a thug. We debated about that. So the topics vary per what's going on in the world. We can't talk about open investigations if they affect our department, but sometimes we can talk about the act itself. And so we basically have become a network, because then in January, we had the mayor, we had the chief of police, we had the DA, we had CNN, all in this same room. And it's like, think of an event where you can go really engage your mayor in dialogue. Mayor Dickens is a good friend of mine from 2014. When he was city council, we were fighting for raises, and I was one of the speakers. After I got done speaking, he sent his aide run to catch me, and his aide said, Councilman Dickens want to see what you do. And I said, come upstairs, come to the gang unit. And when he came upstairs, we was working on the Young Thug case. This the war room. He said, why haven't we heard about this at the council? I don't know. I'm just working. And from that, he became a colleague. Like, we can talk, or when I see him, it's all love. Felicia Moore, she come to Clippers and Cops. She gave us a proclamation for Clippers and Cops because they were able to come and not even talk, but just listen and engage the community and give people opportunity to touch, see them as regular people, even though the position in which they hold. And so now, from month to month, it grows, and grows. So then COVID happened. So when COVID happened, it was a bad thing because in person is the best.
Right. Because
you can feel the energy in the room and people, the vibes. Well, and you have a bunch of sidebar conversations going on the side. When COVID happened, we started doing it online. That opened it up to where now we reaching not only Atlanta, we going nationwide, we going worldwide. We got people chiming in from Africa, Europe, because there are other people are telling their family and friends about this program, and they're able to jump on, and boom, it's growing. And so what's crazy about it all, I get an email from Canada where a police department in Canada wanted us to come teach them what we were doing. Then I had to lead a discussion in Nigeria about safety. 3 months ago, we did a call with the U.S. Embassy in Greece because the debate was about they wanted to fly a BLM flag for in commemoration of George Floyd. Some of the agents didn't want them to, and so they brought us in to moderate the call. We had over 20 countries on the call.
Look at how look at how just from you doing the work, starting off with kids, and all of your past, you bringing all of your past experiences to that, and then founding Clippers and Cops, sparking that interest, generating conversations with the public, because really, like you said, that's what it's about.
That's what it's all about.
We got it, and that's at ground level. You talk about the best kind of market research. That's where it is right there. That's your
police reform
target.
That's what we're doing is police reform. I had an elderly black lady call me after one, didn't know who she was. I don't know how she got my number. And she literally brought me to tears because she said, you don't even understand the impact that you are having on the world with what you guys are doing. And of course, I'm not looking at it like that. I'm just looking, God, this is what God put on my heart. And she was like, when people talk about stuff like the Nobel Peace Prize, and she's like, you're the epitome of that. She said, did you think Dr. Martin Luther King knew who he was Dr. Martin Luther King? And I'm like, I never looked at it like that. I'm just doing what I do.
Gave you the highest honor.
Right. And she had me I'm literally on the couch like crying because I'm like, dang, that's humbling, you know what I'm saying? And so from that, as we're doing this and when COVID happens, George Floyd happened, it started coming to a point where I'm knowing I got to get off the APD ship.
Why is that?
Because I'm almost becoming bigger than the ship. And I still have to answer to people. I still have to get permission to go speak when I speak better than some of the people that we have.
But why was the George Floyd thing
Because during George Floyd, I had media requests because people would Google Clippers and cops. But Amir at the time didn't want us. She wanted to control the narrative where she's the only one speaking, which I understand that you don't want a bunch of people in your camp pretty much talking, but I felt that we could have helped because we had something that was already established.
But Clippers and cops was separate. It was
it's
your
totally
thing.
Separate, but
and you did it off duty.
Correct, but I'm still an Atlanta police. At the time, I still was an Atlanta police officer.
And who did you have helping with Clippers and cops? Did you have other Atlanta police officers?
So I don't do Clippers and cops on myself. I am the CEO, founder, leader.
Okay.
Oric Curry is a retired Atlanta police gang detective, master instructor, also retired military. Brought him in because as a master instructor, he can talk to people about tactics, why we do some of the things we do. Dante Booker, 20 years, played football at Georgia Tech. He worked in our cops unit. He's a bigger guy. He's boisterous. He's one of those guys that like to debate online with every political topic. So he my boy, though. We work the clubs together. So that's one of my friends. So I brought him in. Tyrone Finney, been on 15 years. He's a burglary detective in Zone 1. Andre Lowe, 14, 15 years. He's a homicide detective. He could talk to people about homicide. Michael Carter, he's the SWAT lieutenant. He been on 25 years, former Red Dog, went to the FBI, came back. And then Maurice Sweeney is a radio personality. He was the first one I picked because he was going to be our moderator. We needed somebody that was neutral. And he's funny. He knows how to keep it light, or when we start to go that way, he can pull everybody back in. And then Michael Sighton, he's a WSB TV reporter. He got introduced to me from another reporter, Amy Vinatieri. We went to lunch, and I'm like, what you doing tonight? We doing Clippers and Cops tonight. You should come. And he was the only white guy in there. And so he became the fly on the wall because then he from East Cobb. So he like, oh, my God, I ain't never seen nothing like this. Now he got street cred. Now when he show up, people like White Mike with Clippers and Cops because they used to seeing them with us. But he's genuine in what he does because he's able to provide. When we went to South Atlanta High School, and when he explains to the kids about media, social media, what you post, what you share, and the kids is like, why y'all always put the bad stuff up? He's like, why y'all always send me the bad stuff? Send the good stuff. Helping them understand that you guys are pseudo-journalists yourself. Send us when good stuff happens so we can share that as well. And so that makes up our team. You got
a good team.
I handpicked, though, because I didn't want it to just be us. But my girl there, Kim, she comes too. And because I want to do a spinoff with women in the beauty shop. And because when we go talk to the students, we not just talking to the boys, we talking to girls too. And so we have to get a representation with the females to be able to help them understand too. Like,
because we have similar conversations,
correct.
Those conversations in the salon.
Correct. And so
it can get deep sometimes.
That's what I'm saying. And so you different walks of life in the salon, everybody's equal. Everybody can provide that insight. But during the protests, different news outlets is reaching out trying to, hey, do this interview, and I couldn't, which kind of bothered me or whatever, but it was what it was. And so on the third day of the protest, we're on 12-hour shifts. My old basketball coach, he was the assistant coach when I was there. He reached out to check on me. We talked for an hour. He was like, hey, he always ended the conversation like, I'm trying to get you back. And I'm like, I don't think you could afford me. And he was like, well, they just created this position where maybe we can. So he put me in touch with my boss, Dr. Terry Harris. He went to my rival high school, and he was 2 years younger than me. We talked.
We're back in St. Louis.
We're back in St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, almost.
Almost.
I'm getting a call from St. Louis. And so he and I talked, and he was like, hey, we got this new position, Director of School Safety for Rockwood School District. Would love to have you. And I'm like, well, I don't know if you can afford me. He was like, send me your resume. I'm like, I ain't really got a resume because I ain't needed a resume. I said, I got my CV, what I send when I do game case. He said, send me that. I sent him that. Within 5 minutes, he called back and he said, what will it take for you to leave Atlanta? And at that moment, I felt like a school-age girl because I'd never been asked what I want. And so I'm like, let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife. I've been married. At that time, it was like 12 or 13 years. And my wife is from Alabama, but she went to school in Missouri. And so I'm like, let me talk to my wife. So when I go home, talk to my wife, I'm like, what do you think about moving back to St. Louis? And she was like, I was waiting for you to get out of that police stuff. So I'm looking like, what? We ain't ever talked about that, you know? And so she was like, I'm with whatever you with. My wife always been supportive of anything that I do or whatever. So that's why it's like, it's a team effort. I'm the face of the, like with Clippers and Cops, I'm the face, but I don't do this alone. My wife allows me to be able to travel, do what I do. I don't have to worry about my kids because I know she holding it down. But when we're doing this protest, we tired. My mom, my sister's in town. When I'm coming downstairs, the news on, I'm watching the protest that I just got off from. And so from that, it was just frustrating. One of my activist friends, Dante Carter, he said, hey, man, he called me every day during the protest. And he was like, do you go to therapy? And I'm like, no. He was like, well, I do. He was like, so I'm going to give you one of my sessions so you can just go release. And I'm like, oh, okay. I went, speak to the therapist, and the therapist wrote me a check for Clippers and Cops because he was like, that is so awesome what you guys are doing, whatever, whatever. Meanwhile, when I come home that night from duty, my daughter was 12 at the time. My daughter is goofy, silly, like a kid, but she ain't no lovey-dovey type of kid. And when I walked in the door, she ran up to me, hugged me like, Daddy, I don't want you to be the police no more. And I'm like, oh, snap. She broke me down.
She been affected by what she saw.
God knew how to get me. And as a police officer, you don't understand the mental toll it takes on your family. Even though I wasn't in danger like that as I became older, when they see the news, they see they daddy, you know what I'm saying? And when she said that, it was a wrap. Like in my mind, I knew it was over. Like I'm out. And so I basically came up with a list of demands. And my job, we were off on numbers. And when I sent them my proposal, he's like, let me call you back. So he called his boss, Dr. Katie Rebele, who was married to one of my high school teammates. They in Hawaii. She put it on car phone, on the speakerphone. And he like, hey, he's asking for more than what we're offering. Her husband says it's Ty. Like, he does amazing work. He been doing amazing work. Y'all getting him for cheap. And she said, do it. He called me back and said, done deal, what you gonna do? And I'm like, oh, he didn't call my bluff. And the girl that was with me at the time, she looked at me, she said, you finna leave, ain't you? And I'm like, yeah. And so I decided to leave. And then once I decided to leave, one of the judges that we used to sign our search warrants and stuff, he happened to call to check on me during the protest. And he was like, and I'm like, hey, so you don't hear this from nobody else? I'm about to retire. And he got mad. He was like, what? You're the epitome of what our officers should be. And if you're leaving, what does that say about the state of our department? And so I'm like, he's like, let me call you back. So he called Mark Winnie with WSB. Mark Winnie, Tyrone, hey, how you doing? It's Mark Winnie. I want to do a story. And I'm like, if we do a story, I'm not covering my face because the officers that was doing stories at the time, we had the Rayshard Brooks incident, all this different stuff. People was covering their faces. I said, I'm not covering my face. I ain't never been in trouble. I do what I'm supposed to do. If we're going to do a story, they need to see that we have options too. Like, a lot of us have skill sets that is coveted in the private sector. So I did the story. The story kind of went viral. I started getting job offers from other places. And I was like, nah, this is a chance for me to go back home. I basically, when I took the job and went back home, I retired August 10th of 20 from Atlanta Police Department. I started with Rockwood School District August 20th. And on my first day, when I went to meet my superintendent, because I met them through Zoom. And when I met my superintendent, I'm asking him like, hey, did they tell you I got expelled?
From this school.
From this school. And he said, nah, they told me you one of the most decorated officers that came through Atlanta Police Department. And so then when they picked my office, they put me in the same office that I got expelled from.
Isn't that something? Oh, my goodness.
And so I sit in the same office, and I learned that I had to let that incident go. Because as people, we have stuff happen, and we carry that weight on your back, and the only person thinking about it is you. Because now that's 25 years ago.
And we don't know the full story of, we know when we're going through something, when you got expelled, when you got in trouble from school, you probably never wanted to set foot back in that office again.
I never have been
No
back.
one could have ever told you would be setting foot back in there. But this time, being in charge of the law enforcement sector for the school district.
So I basically oversee the entire school district, 35 buildings, 32 schools. I supervise 12 school resource officers. I report directly to the superintendent.
That's
and
amazing.
Even when I explained it to the kids, everybody's mouth hit the floor because, like I tell them, a mistake ain't a mistake if you learn from it. Every storm ain't meant to harm. But the choice is yours. Only you can change your life. You have to make a decision on what you want for yourself. And for me, where I'm at now, I'm addicted to success. Like, I'm addicted to winning. Like, I want to win in everything that I do. And I think outside the box. I don't want to do what everybody else doing. Like, I want to be the change that I want to see. And when people talk about police reform, usually when people say that word, they can't tell you what they're doing to fix it. We are an actionable thing where we are really out here doing this. We don't get paid. Not really. Like, most of the stuff we do on our own time. And even though I live in St. Louis, I fly myself back to Atlanta once a month to keep this going.
To keep Clippers and Cops going.
Because I believe in it.
Is this your life's purpose, you think?
This is my life purpose, my life work. And I feel like at some point, this will be a worldwide national program, tour. My goal is to be going from city to city doing this same thing, because at the end of the day, the stuff that we touch on, so in doing Clippers and Cops, been doing that now since 2018, we discovered that the demographic that wasn't coming was 15 to 25. And so since they weren't coming, that meant like some will come, a few, but not many.
You had to go to them.
And that's why we created Clippers and Cops Campus Invasion. So now we go to the schools. Yesterday we was at Creekside High School. We've partnered with Fulton County Schools to go into their schools to engage the students in these hard conversations, decision-making, goal-setting, gang violence, rap music, do's and don'ts on traffic stops, drug addiction, prison. We talk sexting, online safety, mall safety. We talk about so much.
When you go in to do that, how long is your session with the kids?
It depends on how long we got. If they give us an hour to 2 hours, 3 hours, it's up to them.
How can you be requested?
ClippersandCops.org, our website. Anything, all you got to do is put Clippers and Cops in and our information, and on our website you can request information about our different programs. Now we have a proposal created for it, so that the goal in my mind is to try to get into a city on a Wednesday, hit as many schools as we can hand within that day, maybe 3 to 4 if possible, time permitting. Thursday, go to the college or something that's in this, because most of the college kids feel like they know everything, and we want to debate them too. Thursday night, go to a barbershop in their community. Friday, we in the different police jurisdiction. We in their backyard. We want to partner with them and to train the trainer. We want them to carry the torch after we left and piggyback off what we started for them. And so that's where Curry comes in. he has a curriculum created to train them on what we do. Because some departments will say, we don't have them type of problems. You one officer involved incident from having them problems. And the time, you don't prepare for the game on the day of the game. You prepare for the game long before it happens. That's why you practice, right? And so we are trying to put something out there where you already have established relationships within the community. And then on Saturday, have a picnic, have a beer with the people from the community so they can see you as a human. And once you do that, it's just like when you go to your family members and have a beer, have a barbecue, y'all interact, y'all look forward to seeing each other again. Then when you show up on a crime scene, hey, Nikki, hey, I ain't seen you in a while. How you doing? How your mama doing? Then it's not the first time we're talking. Then people feel comfortable and trusting you with their life. When people provide you with information on a case, they are entrusting you with their life, their safety.
This sounds like you need some corporate
I need corporate sponsorship. Somebody to believe in the program like we believe.
Because while I appreciate so much that you're going into your own pocket a lot of times to do this traveling back and forth, it can start to burn a hole in that pocket.
I got a wife and 3 kids.
So, right. And so the work that you're doing is much needed. I can't even stress how much this means to the community and what you're trying to do. And so I'm surprised no one's picked you up by now, because this is a one-stop shop for what the community needs, and it's that demographic, those age ranges. That's what we're talking about. We need that.
I sent you the videos. The proof is in the pudding. Anything that I'm talking about, I can show you. We have videos, testimonies, write-ups from the children saying it in their own words, what it means and what they learned and what they didn't know and how this has helped them. And we talking about an hour or 2 hours. Imagine if we had more time with them, you know what I'm saying, to dedicate to them. We could mold a whole different demographic. What we're dealing with gun violence is happening in every metropolitan city. A culture is being plagued with gun violence because of decision making. Taking a step to think before you act. Every time we talk to the kids and we say, if somebody comes snatch your chain, what you gonna do? The kid's like, I'm gonna fire his ass up because that's the way they think. Then
that's how they resolve conflict.
That's how they resolve conflict. But then one of the kids said, what if I'm practicing in resolution and the other person is practicing conflict? What do I do? And we have to explain to them, you have to try to avoid that situation. If that means you have to leave and be deemed a punk, you gonna live to fight another day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know if you may want to fight and that person may want to shoot. You don't know who you're dealing with. And so a lot of our incidents escalate over minor arguments and stuff. And then it's escalating. Boom, boom, boom. And we just try to talk to them about that. Is a $30 to $100 chain, $1,000 chain, worth 25 years of your life? And the answer is no. Because then some of them are young dads. But when you're taken off the board, that means your kids are being raised by whomever. You may have a daughter, your baby mom may get a new guy. You don't know what. You leave your kid to fend for themselves. And these are different things that guys don't think about because we're taught to get it back in blood. I told you I was telling you about a PowerPoint presentation I have about hip-hop and gang culture. When I think about some of our favorite hood classics, Boys in the Hood. When I went to see Boys in the Hood at the movies, we clapped when the people that killed Ricky got killed. We stood up and clapped. All right, they got their ass. Not knowing that we're promoting gang retaliation. You know what I'm saying? When we watch Menace to Society, all the different movies, we love them. New Jack City, Nino Brown, we talking about a drug kingpin. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that have been poured into us. And if you don't have someone to explain and talk about it, then what? And a lot of our young people don't have people to explain it or parents to explain. And now with cell phones and social media, you can stay in a gated community and log in to Bankhead Highway and see how they doing it. So gang violence has been able to spread through social media.
And when we talk about media and social media, we also need to touch on just the entertainment part about music.
Rap.
And so
doing
with the whole rap situation, with the lyrics now, I understand that there's a petition that's been signed by quite a few celebrities.
Protect black art.
Protecting black art and protecting freedom of speech. What's your opinion on that?
My opinion on that is I love rap music too. And I might listen to rap music on my way to prosecute a rapper. But at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for some of the things that you're spewing to this world. When we do Clippers and Cops Campus Invasion, we put up 5 rap songs. And I had somebody get up and read the lyrics. Don't sing it, read it. And read it to interpret exactly what they're telling you. And usually they're giving you a crash course dummy mission, because gang violence, homicide, shooting, robbing, killing is like a carton of milk. When you put a carton of milk in a refrigerator, at some point it has an expiration date. And if you participate in that type of behavior, at some point, either we coming to get you or your ops coming to get you. So why participate in that? Why glorify that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all right. The number one consumer of rap music is not minorities. It's white kids. If you go to any hip-hop concert, you're going to see white kids enjoying the hell out of it. But they listen to it as entertainment. We listen to it as a way of life. That's the disconnect. I blame the record executives. It's almost like the movie CB4. When CB4 came out, they wanted them to be fake criminals. And that sold. Now they want them to be real criminals and try to sell that. And they pushing that on our generation to absorb it without a guidance of, hey, this is entertainment.
So on an young impressionable mind who is loving the music and loving the art of the music, they're taking the lyrics to be real all the time.
Correct.
Could it be that the artist is not even about that life anyway, but because it sells?
That's it. That's exactly it.
Because it sells, they're going to talk about how many people they killed.
Most of the artists may come from that life, may have a past in that life, but as their life changes, their circumstances changes. And as their circumstances changes, they see the world different. Most of them, like Jeezy just was talking about the same thing. He ain't screaming trap or die no more. He trying to own real estate and remove himself from that environment, because as you mature, you learn that it has an expiration date. Some people are going to hold you accountable for those words. They're going to hold you to stand behind what you're saying. And that's why we see so many of our rappers dying of senseless violence, because then people are really holding them to the standard in which they're putting out there. And so as a gang detective, I don't listen to a rap song and say, oh, yeah, he said what? Oh, I'm finna build a case. No, we have real life rappers that have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And by doing that, they make themselves a target. When their lyrics come into play is, we really have case numbers and victims and incidents related to what they're saying.
So are you saying, like with the DAs, for example, that are using these lyrics to prosecute, if there is a correlation with some of the evidence that they already have, let's say in a case, and then they pull up the lyrics and, oh my goodness, it all matches up.
You telling them,
saying then we can then it's okay to use it?
You are telling on yourself. Where I come from, gangsters move in silence. You don't go do something and then talk about it. That's exactly what they're doing.
But if there's no correlation with any evidence to show, then they're okay.
You're right, they're okay. It's storytelling at that point. But if you really out here doing stuff and actually telling on it, me, Nikki, and the other crew, we did this, and that really happened, then that's your fault for putting that out there. At the end of the day, the lyrics is the cherry on top. No one is sitting there analyzing every song like, hey, he just said he's gonna pop in the clip and spray some stuff. That's not what happened. And it's crazy. It's embarrassing when, as a retired game detective, when you hear stuff like that. We're not attacking black art. We love y'all too. I wish you would tell them to do something different. I don't want you to come across my desk.
Has that popped up in the conversation in the barbershop?
Of course. Anything that happened in the news pops up in the barbershop because people want to know right now what we got, what we going on, different stuff like that. And so we try to touch on it as best we can. And the whole thing about it is be mindful of what you are doing. Take a second. Like I tell the kids, the 5-second rule. Anytime your friends come to you and say, this is all we got to do, take 5 seconds to think. Ding. If this is all we have to do, why do he need me? If this is all we have to do, what is coming from this? And think about the next step after that. Because usually if you take a second and think, you're going to say, I'm gonna stay out of that. You know what I'm saying? Most of the kids, through drug use, they're not in their right mind. They higher than ever. They smoking weed, new age weed, that they on Mars. Yeah, they popping pills, drinking and smoking where they're not in their right mind. So when someone brings something to you, you're not thinking straight. And you thinking, oh, that sounds like the lick, let's do it. And then once you sitting in a box, sober as hell, you like, damn, I was dumb as hell. Why I do that?
Look, I have enjoyed this conversation. I know you sent me your itinerary and you managed to slide this interview in, so thank you for doing that.
Anytime.
And I think we could have gone down a whole lot of different roads, and so I'm going to have you come back on because we got a lot more to talk about. But I do wish you well, and I'm hopeful that we're going to see Clippers and Cops worldwide for real, with some real backing, the backing that it needs. I'm confident of that.
I appreciate it. I believe in God, so I let God guide my steps and pull into what it is.
You can't fail that way.
That's it. I feel honestly that the journey is what makes it all worth it, because through it all I've learned business. I've learned ins and outs of different things that I never had to be a part of. And I feel like timing is everything, and I feel that at some point the time to be right for somebody to say, this is what we need to be a part of, this is what we want to partner with. And it's like the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come.
They'll come.
And the groundwork that we putting in right now, grassroots, that's why so many people dig it, because it's almost like they know we are real and we're genuine. This ain't a fly-by-night thing where we like, hey, nah, that's not what we're doing. We really in the trenches. We're really there. And I think that's what makes it so awesome, because then people can really touch us and see that we truly care. Like I tell the kids, I care about you and I love you and I don't even know you. And you don't even know that. And then when you meet me, it's like, dang, I never knew somebody like you exist. And just trying to show them that you could be so much more. Look at me. Look at my life. If you stick around, that course can come full circle for you too. But you're going to have to set goals. There's going to have to be a plan in place for you to do that. Like, at the end of the day, nobody can live for you. I can't go out and live for you. I don't know what you go home to. I don't know what you got going on in your life. But I'm giving you a blueprint of what you can do to be a successful adult. And that's it. So I appreciate it.
That's good.
ClippersandCops.org, our social media on every platform. My website, Tyrone J. Dennis. ClippersandCops.org, Instagram, Twitter, all social media platforms. TyroneJDennis.com is my website. And you can reach out through that. We're looking for schools that are interested. Sponsor a school. If you feel like it's a school in your community that you want to sponsor to be able to bring us in, feel free to reach out. I provide the information. There's a number of videos, links, and we're also on YouTube, where you can see past sessions and different things like that, where you can see it for yourself. Anything that I said, you can go online and find it. I'm on YouTube as well. You put in my name, you'll see it for yourself. And that's it.
Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Safe Nation Podcast. This has been an informative and fun interview. We got a lot of knowledge about what Clippers and Cops is doing. Tyrone Dennis and his crew, we just wish them all the best. Take care and be safe, y'all.